Hello, 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 and welcome to another episode of A Spiritual Remedy. My name is Sunshine Day, and what a joy it is to greet you on this Monday. Golly, we're 320 already, March the 20th, 2023. We are experiencing the first day of spring, the spring equinox. Life is good for many, many people, and many people are experiencing some things hmm, that are tough. So let me know where you're hanging out from. Let me know if you are on YouTube, if you're on Facebook. Let me know what city you're in. Let me know what's going on. Let me know who's here, who's hanging out with me today. I am absolutely ready to say hello. Hello, hello, hello. So, today I want to remind people that the purpose of my show is to provide spiritual tools and loving support for your personal transformation. I see a world where people, and in particular people in recovery, hello, Bertha, people in recovery, people who are turning away from weapons of mass distraction, are living their best life and loving it. And that's why I'm here today. Buenos dias, and Bertha is in Long Beach. Thank you, Bertha, for tuning in today. Let us know where you're tuning in from today. Would love to know who's hanging out. I see that there are more and more people coming on board here, so say hello. Um, Today I want to talk about a couple of things, and I know that in our 20 minutes of time together that it gets a little bit challenging to talk about this. So I'm actually going to try to merge this together. Hello, Pharaoh. So good to have you. And who's this? Nancy? Is this Nancy? Yeah, good morning, Nancy. Good morning, good morning, good morning. So today I want to talk about a couple of things. Um, and the two things that I want to talk about and really get your feedback on is boundaries. Boundaries and this idea that boundaries build bridges. And this is particular to me as well. As I unfold and grow in my awareness, and as I grow in being able to be a more loving and generous and kind person, as I too step away from the weapons of mass distraction and really focus on being the love energy and the joy energy that I'm here to be, and knowing that you are doing the same. What I want to know is, how are you with boundaries? Do you have boundaries? And how do you enforce your boundaries? Do you have boundaries, and how do you enforce your boundaries? So, do you have boundaries? And how do you enforce your boundaries? That's the question that I'm asking today. And the reason why I'm asking is because I recently did a talk that's going to air on Wednesday, and I'm going to see if I actually move that talk and put it on here on this particular channel, around boundaries and the idea that boundaries build bridges. Boundaries build bridges. And is that true? Is that true that boundaries build bridges? And how so? And here's this idea, and the idea is that if I have clear boundaries, I am then enforcing them. So in other words, I let my boundaries be a guide to my life. I know what I want to say yes to, what I want to say no to, what's acceptable, what's unacceptable. Boundaries are really about my self-worth. Wow. Boundaries are about my self-worth. Boundaries are about your self-worth. And without clear boundaries, how do you know when you want to say yes and when you want to say no? And how do I know if I've crossed your boundaries, right? So Bertha says, I do have boundaries at 73, not so much in my 40s. If my peace is disturbed, I'm not around. I'm not around it. Okay. Yeah, so it's very, very interesting as to what I will accept, what I won't accept. And I think that my boundaries have changed a lot. I think that kind of what Bertha is saying, that maybe not so much in her 40s, but now in her 70s, yeah, that she's got boundaries, and that if her peace is disturbed, she's just not around it. It's time to go. It's time to do something different. It's time to have a different experience. And so I too am kind of thinking like, okay, how does that work? And our boundaries really about our self-worth. And I'm thinking that our boundaries are really about our self-worth. And as people in recovery, or people who are laying down their weapons of mass distraction and really trying to find themselves, right? As we begin to try to find ourselves, as we begin to really have a new vision of our lives without the addiction, without the alcoholism, without the overeating, overspending, without all of that. Yeah, we begin to find ourselves. Lisa E, love you so much. So glad that you're here on the show today. Good morning. Boundaries will change as you change. You are definitely a wise person. Yeah, I find that my boundaries are changing as I change and as I unfold and as I get to the core as to who I really am. Like as I discover more and more that I don't want to have people walking all over me, that when I say no, I mean no, and when I say yes, I mean yes. And this is an interesting topic around boundaries because, for so long we have been a people without boundaries. And now it's different. Now as we become to again discover ourselves through whether we are in a 12-step recovery or just recovering, and not just recovering, and or recovering from these weapons of mass distraction that have been distracting us from the truth of who we really are. We discover who we are, and I want, and I'm thinking this, that you too want to be true to self, and that value, all of a sudden I begin to value myself. Now it's interesting because when that happens, a lot of people want to talk about, oh, now you're being very narcissistic, or you're being conceited, or you're being this or that. Let's see what Nancy has to say. If I have boundaries, a bridge is the only avenue to which to cross over and come together. Ah, so now you're going a little bit further, right? Like, because I asked a question like, can boundaries actually be a bridge? Can it actually be building a bridge? And so I think very much so. I think very much so that in terms of, if I know who I am and what I'll accept and not what I won't accept, I get to go, hello, let me introduce you to me. And that when you know who I am or what I will accept or not accept, that it actually brings us closer together, and that we're actually building bridges and we're actually making connections. Those bridges of making connections and having that opportunity to come together, to come together. So, huh? that is, that is really sweet. But how do we begin to set boundaries? And so what I want to begin to share is that setting boundaries is not necessarily the easiest task that we have at hand. And especially for people in recovery and people who are looking to live their best life, whether you're in a recovery program or not, whether you're in treatment or not, whether you just want to live your best life, here's how to begin to set boundaries and to also be at that place that Bertha talked about a little while ago about her peace not being disturbed, right? And so first, we have to recognize our worth and our value. Like, you got to recognize that you are, that you're a valuable person and that you have worth and that you're just not any old kind of person, but that you have value. And today's society has made people disposable. You are not disposable, beloved. You are not a throwaway. You are the unique and unrepeatable, magnificent, powerful way in which spirit, source divine, higher power, infinite intelligence, the broad highway shows up in human form. That's your real identity. You might think that your real ID is that thing you got in the state of California or New York or wherever it is that you currently live. You might think that that real ID is who you are, but your real ID is that you are the unique, unrepeatable way that spirit shows up. Yes, right? Thank you, Michelle. I see you. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, because that's who you are, to the degree in which we anchor that truth, that, oh, wait a minute, and even for our friends who are definitely more Bible based, who also need to hear that you are made in the image and likeness of spirit, of higher power, of source divine. Well, that means that you're worthy. Just by virtue of us breathing and living, we are living and breathing and having our being in source divine. So recognizing that value and kind of going, wait a minute, this is the truth of who I am, and I am worthy. And it's not that I'm better than you, but hey, I'm not worse than you. I have value. So we get to recognize our value, and we get to be kind to ourselves. We get to teach people how to treat us. And unless we're able to teach people how to treat us by having boundaries, by setting forth some boundaries, we're letting people walk all over us. And we're walking all over ourselves, because it might not be that anybody's doing anything to us, but we might continue to put ourselves in situations that are not the healthiest for us. Just like, you go to a barbershop, you're going to end up, you keep going to a barbershop, you keep hanging out at the barbershop, you're going to end up with a haircut, right? Right? You keep hanging out in areas of disharmony, of discord. If you keep hanging out with people that don't see your value or don't recognize your value, you are going to continue to devalue yourself. So recognizing value is important, and then being kind to yourself, because doing that, you're teaching people how to honor and respect you, right? And begin, as uncomfortable as it may seem, begin to say no. When you mean no, say no. When you mean yes, say yes. And I know that for me, coming up, as a people pleaser, as someone who wanted to be liked, but I want them to like me. I want them to see my value. And so I would say yes to things that I did not want to do. I remember saying yes to being a secretary and taking minutes and taking notes at a business meeting, and I can't stand that stuff. I can't stand being a secretary. I don't do it well. I don't do it well. So listen to what Lisa has to say. What you believe is what you will manifest. Know your self-worth. Absolutely. What I believe is what will manifest. And so if I keep believing that I have to say yes when I don't want to do something, because they're going to see my worth and my value? No, that's not true. Because me saying yes when I really didn't want to do it, they did not see my value. Why? I did a piss poor job. Months behind in minutes. Didn't get it done because I didn't want to do it. But I said yes because I wanted them to see my worth, but that's not the area my worth is in, right? And I got to learn to be assertive and just say no. It's okay to say no. It's okay to say no. And I get to surround myself around positive people. I get to surround myself around other people who are doing the same. So that this way we are actually creating a spiritual learning community where we learn to be our real selves, where we learn to be loving to ourselves and kind to ourselves. Therefore, we're loving and kind to others. Michelle says here, learning how to not cross the boundaries I set was even a challenge that I set was even a challenge for me in the beginning of my recovery. Today, I realize it is self-love. It absolutely is self-love. If I love myself, I set my boundaries. I am recognizing my worth. Now, here's the deal. The first step in setting boundaries is to know my worth, right? The next, steps after that is being kind to myself, but I have to know my worth and I have to know my value, and I get to say no, I get to be assertive, I get to build positive relationships and find some support in supporting communities like the ones that we have right here. And the key is that very first step, right? That very first step is so important. Let's hear from Bertha. When I became a mom, my boundaries completely changed. Yes. Isn't that true? It's just like, oh yeah, when we're moms, right? And I'm not a mom, I'm a dog mom, but still, like, I know from other moms that when they were single and they were living their life and it was like, yo, turn up, turn up. But the minute that they had children, it was like, nope, I can't have that stuff around my kid. Like when it was just me, it was just me. But now I'm in charge of another life and I can't have that around me. Like, oh yeah, those boundaries kind of change because now we recognize our worth as a parent, as a mom. It also includes this plus one whose life we get to nurture and love. And so here in the last couple of minutes, here's the thing that I would love for us to practice this week. And for that to practice this week is that sometimes when our boundaries are crossed, that there's an elephant in the room. And that elephant in the room that we don't want to talk about or discuss or have that boundary is living spirit, is source divine. That problem, that situation in which we don't have boundaries around is there for us. Not for anything to happen, to us. But it is there for me then to recognize that I get to set my boundaries and that it starts first with knowing my self-worth. And in knowing my self-worth, how I get to do that, one of the steps for you and one of the steps for me is, one of the steps for me is to pause and to become absolutely still and quiet and begin to simply ask that indwelling power and presence within me to reveal to me in a language that I understand my value and my worth. And that it comes from within. And I don't have to do anything or people please anybody for that to be my truth. That I absolutely have value. And practicing that pause, as Lydia says, this powerful tool of pausing and then asking indwelling power and presence to have that revealed to me. To have that vision of my value, of my worth. To know that within me is living spirit, is source divine, that I am the unique, unrepeatable way that this power and presence shows up in human form. And so from that place, that that here, when you see me, you see higher power in human form, because I'm made in its image and likeness. It is living me. It is expressing as me. And I get to recognize my value as valuable. And again, not more and not less, but I have value. I have worth. I deserve love. I deserve peace. I deserve health. I deserve loving and profound relationships. I'm glad you like that. Higher power in human form. Absolutely. The unique, unrepeatable way higher power shows up in human form. We are sourced. We are sourced. That source divine is right where we are. And so I thank you, Bertha. So much wisdom in 20 minutes. And that's what this is about, is being able to create a loving and supportive learning community. We continue to learn. We continue to be and to support one another. We continue to simply be that place where we get to learn and support one another. So, in closing, right? Even if we were to say the serenity prayer, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. That we get an opportunity to be together. We get an opportunity to recognize our worth and to begin on a daily basis asking that source divine that is living us to reveal to us our worth and our value. That as we set boundaries, we're actually building bridges. Hello, let me introduce myself to you, because we are changing each and every day. We change each and every day. And so, beloveds, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I want to remind you that what you appreciates, and want to give you an opportunity. As you can see on the top of your screen is a QR code if you want to support the program so that we continue to come to you on a weekly basis. I also want to remind you to send in your gratitudes, your appreciation at 562-928-6460. It's a one-on-one. You send it to me, I send it to you. It's not a group chat. And it is individualized expression of our good, that we might continue to grow our good together. Until next week, know that you are loved and appreciated. I'm so happy that you're all hanging out with me today. Have a great, great Monday, and have a great beginning of spring. We're springing into action by setting forth our boundaries and recognizing that the elephant in the room is, in fact, our higher power working on our behalf. Until the next time, mwah, bye for now.